Welcome back. I'm still with Russell Quirk. Russell, let's talk about Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury. This is a shocking story.
It's a shame we have to.
Well, we must, because 1,500 signatures and rising from the General Synod, which is the Church of England's Parliament, saying that he must stand down. And this is because he knew all about the paedophile activities, a prolific paedophile, John Smyth, who was, a churchman, a cleric. Smyth died aged 75 in Cape Town in 2018 while under investigation by Hampshire police, so he was never brought to justice. Across 5 decades in 3 different countries, he abused as many as 130 boys and young men in the UK and Africa, and is said to have been a particularly bad paedophile, subjecting his victims to traumatic physical, sexual, psychological and spiritual attacks. The Archbishop of Canterbury said he did know he knew Smyth because they attended Christian camps in the 1970s, and that he had knew something of the charges against him as long as 11 years ago. And he now says that, in essence, he should have been more vigilant then. But basically, he has known about this guy for at least 11 years, maybe longer, and did nothing about it. He said he won't resign. But now, apart from this, this is the Synod. These are not members of the public. These are senior churchmen who belong to the Church of England's Parliament, the Synod. They've got a petition up, 1,500 signatures. That's a lot. And now the Bishop of Newcastle, Helen Ann Hartley, says that Welby must stand down following this, and I'm quoting her, horrific, horrendous and shocking report. Well, he says he's not going to go. He's dug his heels in.
He's got to go.
But, I mean, surely for the... the credibility of the Church of England. You can't... If you knew, Welby, that this guy was doing what he was doing, and maybe you didn't know the full extent of it, but you knew he was a practising paedophile 11 years ago, and you allowed him to carry on being an official in the Church of England, I would say that shows a lack of judgment, a kind of terminal lack of judgment, for which you should pay the ultimate price and lose your damn job.
I think it's worse than that. I think effectively Justin Welby has enabled this John Smyth QC, to carry on abusing boys and young men. So it's said that between 100 and 130 boys and young men were abused by this monster, both here and in African countries, which, by the way, he was banished to, apparently. This is what the church did. Rather than exposing him and saying, we're going to have to tell the police because you are a paedophile and a criminal, instead, they sent him to Africa, where, of course, he then continued to abuse men and young boys in African countries. This is an enablement, I think, on the part of the Archbishop of Canterbury. How he can hold his head up and say that he doesn't intend to resign is astonishing to me.
I think he's got to go.
Because the fact is, let's just be really, really clear. If you're aware in 2013 that someone is a paedophile and you don't say anything until that person dies 5 years later, all of those boys and young men that have been abused after 2013, it's on you. No, it's on Justin Welby.
Yeah, but they don't get justice, and this independent Makin review into Smith's abuse, published last week, concluded that Smyth, who escaped justice by dying, like Jimmy Savile or someone, who also escaped justice by dying, that this guy Smyth would have been brought to justice. This proper review concludes, had Justin Welby formally reported what he knew to the police a decade ago. That's disgraceful. Yeah. That is disgraceful.
Well, that's...
and I do not think that the Archbishop of Canterbury can remain in his position.
Well, how can someone, not just in a senior position in society, but someone that's supposed to be the head of the church, for goodness sake? Now, we all know that the church have form, all types of church, the Catholic Church and the Church of England, when it comes to paedophilia and so on. But effectively not to stand down now, and indeed not to have blown the whistle on this back in 2013. I mean, his position's completely untenable. To me, Kev, it's completely out of the question that he doesn't resign.
Let's just, this is what the petition, as I say, this is not a petition of churchgoers. This is a petition of vicars, senior clerics from the Church of England who sit on the C of E's parliament called the Synod. This is what the petition says. Given his role in allowing abuse to continue, we believe that his continuing as the Archbishop of Canterbury is no longer tenable. We must see change for the sake of survivors, for the protection of the vulnerable and for the good of the Church, and we share this determination across our traditions. With sadness, we do not think there is any alternative to Justin Welby's immediate resignation if the process of change and healing is to start now. And as I said, the Bishop of Newcastle, Helen Ann Hartley, told the BBC that his position was now untenable. She said there's a petition going round now which many people are signing. I'm afraid he's really lost the confidence of his clergy. He's lost the confidence of many of his bishops, and his position is completely untenable. And I would add to that, Russell, I'll bet that the few people who still go to the Church of England, that he hasn't alienated by his bizarre wokery and his left-wing claptrap. You know, you're not really a Christian unless you agree with migrants crawling across the Channel, all of that. The few remaining people who do go to the Church of England, they too, I'm sure, will want him to go. He's got to go. He thinks he's not, but he has to. Yeah,
he has to go. His position is definitely untenable. Look, we've seen enough of these cases now. You know, not months ago, Hugh Edwards, a similar vein, similar subject, paedophilia, people getting away with it. People like Welby are allowing people to get away with it. It has to stop. This is children.
But, you know, we've had similar problems with the Catholic Church, obviously. You know,
but Kev, also, this is not just sexual abuse. The BBC is saying here today that Smyth took these people home, these kids, where he carried out lashings with a garden cane on them in his shed. For goodness sake. For goodness sake.
Yeah. And the implication is, because Welby met Smith many years ago on these Christian retreats, that somehow or other, I mean, we don't know the facts of this, but it sounds to me like Welby was sort of looking up after his mate, covering up for his mate.
Yeah, well, that's why he waited to say anything until the guy was dead.
So Welby, do the decent thing.
This is Savile all over again.
Just because you're the Archbishop of Canterbury doesn't give you the right to go, I have reflected on this and decided to stay. No. Go. In the name of God, Welby, go.